Welcome. My name is Ben, and this is my new channel. This is Balance. This is a channel about spirituality, sacred sexuality, and higher consciousness. I'd like to talk today about a couple things. I'm not feeling the best, but I knew today I wanted to start this and get this first video on so we could get the ball rolling, because I'm very excited about this project. So this channel talks about kind of my spiritual past and awakening, and what brought me to this crazy thing called White Tantra, which I now practice. And I'm going to be trying to put out as many videos as I can talking about White Tantra itself, talking about my daily experience of it, and trying to just show you guys what it is really like, and maybe inspiring you to pick it up and try it yourself. So, White Tantra, or sexual alchemy as it's also called, is, put simply, sex without orgasm. This is drastically different from the regular tantra that you hear other people talk about or say in passing, because this is a very, very rare thing that most people in the world are not doing, and that's a fact. Tantra, you would hear maybe in a yoga studio, or in some kind of meditation class, because once it's kind of cool, because with spirituality it's like once your light is turned on, you start to look for different solutions in not just that one area of your life, say yoga, like maybe the case we're talking about here, but that person who you hear saying it is naturally going to then re-look at every area of their life and say, wow, does my sex life reflect the new kind of way that I am, the kind of new being that I am now, this person that does yoga? And often they will be drawn to new kinds of experiences, and particularly new ways to be sexual. So for me, I'm going to talk a little about what brought me to White Tantra and where I am with it now. So growing up, I would say I was a pretty normal, middle-class white kid. I went to a normal, pretty nice middle school and a actually very nice public high school in southeastern Connecticut. I'm originally from New York. So the reason why I start there is because around that age of, early years of middle school, beginning of high school, is when the sexual organs start developing to their really consequential levels, and you're at that point where now you go from being a kid like I was, who just wanted to go out in the backyard and play basketball and football and baseball every day, to what's going on with these girls and what is going on in my pants, basically. It's a very weird time. I'm sure it's equally confusing as a girl, but as a guy, it is extremely intense and extremely hard to navigate. Just becoming a sexual being out of nowhere, basically. So at 10, I'd say at 10, when I got into this middle school in Connecticut, 6th grade, I got a couple friends around the neighborhood, and these friends were already very advanced when it came to, oh, this is what sex is, and this is, that's why you approach girls to date them and try to, woo them and go out with them. It's because you are attracted to them, they're hot, and you want to do that with them. Really, yeah, simple as that. And I was so taken just out of nowhere by my sort of, sexual coming online, if you will, that I was behind these guys. And so anytime they'd say, oh yeah, I kissed this girl last week, or I did this last week, I would be like, well, I don't even know how to do that, let alone, oh yeah, I did that too. And so I became the sort of like whipping boy of my group because I hadn't done these things that these other kids had, and a lot of it was kind of bravado and bragging and even like making up shit with these two other guys that were in my friend group. But nevertheless, my reality was I am sexually behind. I don't I don't have the knowledge to succeed the same way these guys are succeeding. So, fast forwarding a little bit, I became motivated to try to become successful like these other guys. And I, one day, was pushed to, on our home computer of all things, at home, open a porn site on my kitchen computer at my house. Pretty wild. And my friend and I sat there and we checked out some porn at 10 and a half, maybe 11. Very, very young to be doing that. And we watched it, and it was like a tractor beam from my forehead onto the screen. I was absolutely hooked and just taken away by what I had just seen. It is it's a bigger conversation. Should that kind of content be freely available to kids 11, 12, 13 years old? Some would say that it's a rite of passage, and you need to learn sometime, so you might as well have it available to you. Others would say hell no. I'm not gonna pass judgment on that today. I'm just gonna say that was what my introduction to sex really was porn. So then porn comes, and naturally with that you're aroused. A masturbation comes, and for me, that stuff just took off like wildfire. Once I found a stimulus that was strong enough, and I knew that I could go look at naked women on the internet anytime I wanted, that was all I wanted to do. And I don't think that that's too irregular or too unnatural for most kids that age, when they find something that's that powerful, has that much of a pull. That's what they're gonna go back for again and again, because it feels so good. It feels so good to be able to just pull something up and boom, it's there on demand. And that was what my introduction to sex was. So we move on, and my next phase, I would say, of my life was between that point, that trigger point, and 15, 16 years old. I was using porn whenever I could. I was masturbating whenever I could. And like I said before, a good amount of that is just taking in the lay of the land and seeing what sex is as a young man, as a young boy. I don't begrudge myself a lot of that. But also, I am trying to take that experience and make sense of it in order to... I'm trying to take the good stuff from that and then use it to, ideally, go and meet successfully, translate that to meeting girls and dating girls and having a girlfriend and stuff like that. And the tough part was that always became so much more of a motivation than seeing a real girl in real life. The going to the computer and looking at the computer screen by myself became a ritual for me. And it decreased the chances of me feeling like I needed or wanted to work to become proficient in dating girls in real life. And so as I got to 15, 16, 17 years old in high school, I had not been really talking to girls. I had not been, flirting with girls that much and getting rejected and learning and flirting with another girl and succeeding and getting to date her and whatever this and that. I really had been just exclusively watching porn and doing self-sex. It's kind of what I call it now. So that's obviously not the best. It's not the best thing to judge it, but it's obviously not the best start. So I kind of then get into, now I'm 17 and I am definitely seeing girls in school I really like and I'm attracted to. But I'm sort of stunted in this way because I have had all my formative experiences with a computer screen. This is absolutely what many today are experiencing. Many people today in the world are experiencing the same sort of thing. Is you want a partner, but this is also what you grew up on, and it's always there. It works every time, and it's hard to pick this wholesome real life thing over this machine-like kind of false reality of the computer screen. So that was really my education in sex, unfortunately. And I do consider myself unlucky in that way, that I learned from a heartless machine what sex is. And I learned a lot of things that you're led to believe are the truth about sex, but they're actually not. Porn is very misleading within its content. A lot of things are taken for granted as being, this is how sex really is, and actually, sex with a real partner, it's not like that. It's taken me a lot of years to figure that out, but it's not. So, I can move the story forward now, and now I'm 28 now. So 15 to 28, I've had 3 or 4 girlfriends, of varying relationships of very varying length. The longest relationship I've had is 7 months with a girl, and I wouldn't say that I'm still that kid who didn't know anything about real relationships, and I'm grateful for that, because what I really want to say is the success I have had since then with the opposite sex is 100% based on time spent with real girls and in real situations and navigating real events with girls. And really none of the stuff I learned with porn is stuff I still like to think about or act out in my sex life today. So, why white tantra? I got into a movement called NoFap about 5 years ago that became popular on the internet, and it was guys starting to report that they also felt that porn was kind of lessening their own power in their lives, that they were feeling anxious, depressed, dejected because they were regular porn users. So they stopped, they would report on forums like Reddit and other social media platforms that they were putting porn down, and they would every day track their progress and look at the benefits that came from putting the screens away, and it naturally, in a really beautiful way, led them to moving forward with their lives and seeking out real interactions with real girls in the world. And a lot of these stories became success stories that you read of guys sometimes who had problems because they were so hooked on the porn and the masturbation that they got erectile dysfunction. Whenever they were with a real girl, they couldn't do it because they wanted the computer instead. It's pretty sad. I was never at that point. There were times when I felt a little bit like that because I would be like, why am I not like 100% hot for this girl that I'm dating and I get to be kissing right now? Why? Oh, it's because she's not on a computer screen and it's not 300 times more intense in front of my face in high definition. But so with this NoFap thing, there were guys on there who were starting to post real success and saying, oh, I didn't watch porn for 3 months, or I didn't masturbate for 3 months. And they would get these kind of superpowers they would talk about where their skin would get clearer and they would want to be eating better, they would sleep better, they would start to pick up healthier habits. And my brother and I were kind of in the same place with this stuff at the time, and we decided to try it out and kind of report our findings to each other, and it became a very positive kind of endeavor for me at the time. I gained varying levels of success with it, and most of all, I started to feel out as there would be weeks when I wouldn't look at porn. I started to have these pockets of time, 3, 4 days, 5 days, 10 days, where I would what's the best way to put this? Where I would feel all of a sudden like my best self. 5 days not looking at pornography, I started to realize that pretty reliably, I felt like my best self. And sure enough, my skin would glow. I would look better with my shirt off. I would have more natural fire in me to go work out and eat better and sleep better and all these really good things. And it really had a positive knock-on effect for me. This no porn, no masturbation kind of approach. So that right there is my first introduction to sort of discipline with sex, is what I'll call it, to introducing discipline into your sex life. Eventually, I came to a conclusion on my own that yes, we are, us guys who are practicing this stuff, we're seeing real results, and that's not a mistake. We're seeing that this can be really, really good for you. This discipline and intentional kind of withholding yourself and holding back from just full out pleasure and hedonism, like many of us had experienced in our lives up till that point. But I came to realize, after a lot of kind of ups and downs with it, that there is a lot of merit to being disciplined sexually. But as a man, there are just times when we are going to have our fires burning so bright and so fiercely that it's good for us to find a sexual release. And it's good for us to just sort of hit the reset button and clear and then start anew the next day. And that's not a bad thing. So I kind of hopefully took the good from the NoFap movement and left out the other stuff that wasn't really for me, and it moved forward. It was around this time that I went to 12-step recovery for what I perceived as having a porn addiction. So I messed up the timeline a little bit. That was about, if my NoFap experience was maybe 5 years, that was about year 2 out of 5. Then I went to 12-step recovery for a couple years to try to get a handle on what I really wanted my sex life to look like, because I felt sort of out of control. And I'll do another video on that another time. It's just kind of a longer story. But in there is where I really learned that lesson that, it's great that I want to be disciplined sexually, but to have a policy where it's I don't have a way out if I'm feeling very aroused and very juiced up. I'm not allowed to do that. I started to feel very boxed in, and that was not a good feeling. So with the help of some people who are older and wiser than me, I came to realize that there are times when every now and then you need to just give yourself grace and say, just enjoy yourself, take care of yourself. If you need to hit the reset button sexually, go do it, and that's perfectly okay. So I came out of that stretch, now we're at the end of those 5 years, I came out of that stretch a lot more neutral and a lot more realistic and kind of balanced when it came to my sex life. And fast forward even further now to where I find White Tantra, which was only about 2 months ago. I know that being sexual with a partner or with myself can be very healthy. I also know that use of pornography and masturbation, unchecked, total hedonism, does not work for me. I really like having balance in my sex life, and I really like having rules and boundaries for myself, because I'm able to then have those stretches of I'm enjoying myself sexually, And then I'm also not using pornography to the point that, oh, it's been 5 or 6 days. I'm feeling kind of like my best self right now. My skin looks great, I feel great, I feel positive, I feel happy, I feel full of energy. This is when I find White Tantra, and part 2 of this video is coming right up.